Welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And this is the M.A. Neal Financial Services section of our program. Bill, first let me say welcome to the program. I'm so excited to find out about this Steuben County Youth in Government. I'm just finding out about it. We were talking off the air. So maybe you could tell us, for those that aren't familiar, what is Youth in Government?
Absolutely, and thanks for having me on this
morning.
Of course. But, Youth in Government is a program offered through the Steuben County Youth Bureau. It is offered for high school juniors and seniors at this point, and it's an interactive internship program, and students coming in into the county building, really learning about a lot of different county operations that most people don't realize are actually part of the county.
Right.
Learning about the legislature and learning how to get involved in their community. And
that's great. Do you find that the students that get involved are already a little civic minded, or do they get more civic minded by the end of it, or?
They certainly learn a lot along the way. Students come in with various reasons for wanting to participate.
Sure.
They can get a college credit out of it. So for some, that's the carrot. And there are some that are interested in politics, or they're interested in government. They're interested in their community and want to learn more about it. And it really, I tell the students all the time when they come in, by the end of the program, you're probably going to understand more about county government than your parents do.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because you really don't realize how much the county does until you do the research. In this case, they're really right in the thick of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, they, everything from, you don't realize the salt barns that you pass on the way in or whatever.
That's a great point.
The sheriff department, mental health. There's so much more.
Oh, yeah, just go to the county office building. You'll see it yourself.
Absolutely.
People have no idea. How long have you been involved with this program?
Directly, I've been a youth bureau director for about 12 years, 11 and a half years or so. Specifically running this program for about 3 years.
Okay.
We typically, we've always had a coordinator, contract coordinator who runs the program. Shout out to Dick McCandless and Jim Gallagher for doing that for many years. Just with COVID, things got weird. And,
they sure did.
Other duties as assigned, I picked it up. But, I was always kind of on the sidelines and supporting our coordinator in doing it. But I really have had a chance to get involved with it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy working with the students and seeing them come to understand what their community means and what it means. To be part of the community. Well,
I was kind of shocked that the program, because I know so very little about it, and you'll see as we do this interview, 40 years.
I believe it was 1983. Actually, our current chairman of the legislature, Steuben County Legislature, was, I believe, in either the first or second class, and that was about 1983.
Well, do you have special guests, mentioning the legislators? Do you have special guests that come in and teach the kids as well? What I mean by legislators come in, or how does that work?
Well, every session, so basically the format of the program is throughout the course of the semester, the student will come to the county building about 6 or 7 sessions, and it's a full day session. So they're out of school, they come to us, and they're with us all day long, lunch and everything. And during that day, they're probably going to hear from 3 or 4 department heads. So they might hear from mental health, they might hear from the sheriff, they might hear from the finance department, all the different operations of county government. So it's not just me all day long. I do very, very little of it because I can't tell them what it's like to run the sheriff's department and everything that they're involved in. So.
And I think this is such an amazing opportunity, because we talk on this program so often about community, and we talk about getting young people involved. And I can't imagine you walk away from that and see the amazing work that a lot of these people do at the county level, at least not have a newfound respect for it. Maybe not want to get into it, but at least have a newfound respect for it.
Well, yeah, one of the things along the way is that the students, kind of the big project, or the final project, if you will, as they're going through the program, they are identifying an idea, something that they would like to change, and something that they would like to implement. In the last session, and as I said, they're watching the legislature, they're watching the committee meetings, and the resolutions, and they are putting together a resolution about something they would like to change. It's not from us. It's something they hear in a presentation, and what comes to mind right now is the Office for the Aging, something related to a totally different population that they may not have thought about, and didn't realize. Well, yeah, my grandmother goes to participates in a community center, a senior center somewhere. We should get more resources for those community centers, and so that's an idea from them, from their experience, and something they run with. So yeah, they learn quite a bit.
How many times after this is all over do the legislators say, wait, that was a pretty good idea, we should think about that?
Well, they do. The students do the simulated session.
Yeah.
That's the last program, is a simulated session. All the students stand up and present their resolutions. We usually have a handful of legislators in attendance.
I would believe.
And they're all taking notes, and it's amazing, and we hear from them. That's a good idea. And a few of the resolutions throughout the course of time have actually been acted upon by the legislature, taken and adopted.
What an amazing opportunity. So where is this located? Always at the county building?
Well, we started at the county building, but people laugh, but we take a bus trip to the landfill and go up on top of the landfill and see, this hill that you're sitting on right now is a mountain of trash. And, the kids are like, well, that's gross. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And we can do better. Yeah. So, that's very often, that's one of the resolution ideas. In the spring session, I think we had 2 that were about recycling and ways that we can do, things that we can do better.
Is transportation provided in scenarios like that?
They have to get to the schools, to us at the county building. So, and I also mentioned we also go to the sheriff's department. The kids take a tour into the jail and see what that's like. And so once they have to come to us, and then once we make these trips to wherever it is, and they're all pretty much right around Bath, we will provide that transportation. Now, we do work with the school districts very closely, and a lot of the districts provide transportation. Some don't. So ultimately, I would say it's up to the kid and the family and the school to get them here.
How does it fit into the students' curriculum?
For a lot of them, it's an exploration in social studies, as you said. But interestingly, in the last, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years, there is a new program coming out of New York State Education called the SEAL for Civic Readiness.
Sure.
Mouthful there. But if you think of it like your graduation, you can get an endorsement for a high school graduation. You can get a math endorsement or a science endorsement, something like that. This is pretty much like a civics or a social studies endorsement. So,
interesting.
So theoretically, it's a young person that is really interested in civics or their community and kind of exploring, they're taking more history, they're taking more government classes than other students, and engaged, and so they can get an endorsement on their high school diploma, the SEAL, and I really think the youth and government program falls hand in hand with that, and we can make that work for the schools, for the students.
I would think there's a lot of these students that after this probably go on to political science majors.
Absolutely, yeah. We hear from some of them. I wish I'd love to hear from more.
Yeah.
But we've gotten students that have come in saying, "Oh, I think I want to be a lawyer. I think I want to do this," and that's the career exploration of this is a piece that we talk about all the time. They are hearing from accountants. I always say the county has probably the widest variety of careers of any employer in the county.
Right.
We have doctors and nurses, law enforcement, accountants, secretaries, social workers, psychologists, you name it. And so they come in and it's amazing what they see.
You mentioned that you'd like to hear even more from kids that graduated the program. What do you hear currently? What are kind of the takeaways normally when they get through the whole program?
It's always, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the county was so big. And most of them, quite frankly, they don't understand the county. What does it mean when we say the county?
Right.
There is in state education the requirements for social studies. They have to take U.S. government.
Okay.
They do not have to take, I don't believe, or there's a very small part that talks about state government and even less about local government.
Oh,
so,
sure.
so we always, we encourage the students, come to understand what it means, what a town is, what a village is, what the county is, and there's a lot of people involved in all of those different careers.
When I like that line, because I truly believe that you are right. You could go back and then school your parents on what is going on in the county, because I don't think, I'm always amazed when I get the press releases of how much Steuben County, Chemung County, how much is actually going on a day-to-day basis.
From the road crews,
Yeah.
mental health, as I said, it's just a huge responsibility the county has.
What's the workload like for the students through this process?
Yeah, so for them, they're coming into those 7 sessions, and they're spaced out about, I'm going to say, every 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
That they're coming to us. While they're there, they're participating in the presentations. We do ask them to do a journal at the end of the day. So you heard 4 presentations. You heard from the director of the Office for the Aging. You heard from the sheriff. You heard from the finance director. I'd like for you to do one journal entry on one of those. What did you hear? What did you learn? What surprised you? Those kind of things. So it's a very, very short, like 250 words, something. Very short journal entry on those. And then there's, along the way, they would set up and they would interview one of the legislators about what they learned, why did you get into legislature and all that kind of stuff. And then a journal entry on that. And then the big project, if you will, is that the resolution that they're putting together. And you've seen the resolutions, very often they're less than a page, but they're written in such a specific way.
They sure are. Yeah.
That it's hard for a lot of the students to kind of wrap their head around. It's like, no, more words is not the case here. Forget English class.
Yes.
I'm not looking for more words.
Yeah.
I'm looking for
specific words.
Very specific. Yeah.
Is it graded like a typical class for these kids?
It is.
In a different way.
In a different way. Yeah. It's an internship program is the way we phrase it.
Okay.
And so a lot of it is based on participation. How active they are, how much they're engaged in the program, and excuse me. They actually can get a college credit at the end of it. So we work with CCC through their ACE program to make sure the kids are engaged educationally.
Yeah. When does the program start? Because I know school's about to start. So if kids, I hate to say that, if a kid's listening, he's upset. But if they're saying, wow, this really sounds like something for me, when does it start?
I hope to gear up in the last week of September. I'm still nailing down the very final schedule.
Okay.
But I'll be reaching out, have been reaching out and in the process of reaching out to all the school districts. Try to go through typically guidance counselors or social studies departments. Sure. I would love to get into the schools to talk to students within the first couple of weeks of school. I know that's so hard, but it's tough to fit in a full program by the end of January, really. So it's coming to crunch time.
It is. Is it just one session? You said at the end of January. You don't do it twice a year, do you?
We do the program twice a year.
Oh, do you really?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's the other flexibility we have. If the student wants to participate but needs to spread it over the year, you know what? We'll make it work.
Okay.
But it's from my standpoint, I'm less about these are the hoops you have to jump through. These are the you have to do it this way. Quite frankly, if a student wants to learn about their community and wants to learn about civics, I'm going to make it work, and we're going to get them to the finish line.
You mentioned go through guidance counselors in schools in general. I'm sure a student could reach out to you, and we had talked a little off the air. A homeschooler, this would be perfect.
I think you're absolutely right. Yes, they can certainly welcome to reach out, I don't know that that's a road we've traveled very often, and I'm eager to do so. I love to explore. So let's find a way to make it work. And if a student reaches out, we're really for juniors and seniors. So we're talking that whatever 15, 16, 17 range. Enough to have seen their community a little bit, and hopefully the opportunity, the time to learn more.
Where's the best place, just before we go, where students, teachers, whoever can find out more?
The Steuben County website, which is, I believe,
Take a look at that, by the way, if you want to see how much the county does.
Yeah, it's
try finding the various aspects on that.
Yeah, you're right. My hats off to the IT department.
Yes.
That's a huge animal to try to get down on one website.
Yes.
But you can see a list of all the county departments, and it really is amazing. Even from the gas pumps, the little stickers on the gas pumps that says it's been inspected by somebody. It's somebody from the county.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. But the county website, I believe it's SteubenCountyNY.gov, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And look for the departments. The youth bureau is listed. That's under one of the tabs, the different services.
And your contact info is there.
Yeah.
So for homeschoolers or just in general, I'm sure if you have more questions, if I didn't write, they could contact you.
Please,
Yes.
you please do. It's Bill Caudle is my name, and B. Caudle is our the county usually first initial last name. So B. Caudle.
Great. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. Good luck getting started.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks very much.
All right, we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us. Well, that was great. I know we're running a little late, but I do want to thank Bill for being on the program, because I think that's an amazing opportunity for young people who want to get involved. Maybe you want to be a politician someday. Maybe you just want to get involved at the government level. This seems like, I wish I would have known about this opportunity, if I'm being honest, back when I was in school. I would have loved to experience this. I think just an amazing opportunity. So thank you again to Steuben County in general for offering this to young students who, again, we keep talking about it, get more active in your community. Well, what's a better way? Start as a junior or a senior to learn more. Now, we do have to take a quick break. I do got to play a little bit of catch up because we have so much to talk about, and I had so much to talk about with Bill, but I do want to put up our contact information if you have any questions, comments, concerns, criticisms. Tomorrow on the program, we'll be talking with Joe Tobia. He is running for Steuben County Legislature. I had his opponent on just the other day, Allison Hunt. They are facing each other for that seat. So I'll be talking with him tomorrow. If you have any questions for him, there is the best way to reach me. So let's get settled in here, take a short break, and then we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us. We are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. We've got a lot to get to, so I want to start off with something that isn't too serious, because we have, unfortunately, a lot of stories that are very serious, very doom and gloom. This just caught my attention this morning. So Elvis Presley's revolver, they put it up on the auction block, and he had quite a few, but it's one of many. It was originally supposed to go for $60,000 at auction. And I don't know what this says about the demand for Elvis because of the movie, the demand for historic guns, something like that. But his Smith & Wesson Model 53 double-action revolver went on sale at Rock Island Auction Company. The winning bid, $199,750. It was given to him as a gift in November of 1976, so it's bicentennial, model. It had an American flag, the Liberty Bell. It says 1776 to 1976. There's a bald eagle, and I have to show you. You're saying you got to at least show me. There it is. $200,000. Wow. I know. Completely off topic. Sorry. Now let's go. See, I'm just trying to break the ice so it's not all blood pressure inducing this morning. CNN's reporting this. They have the exclusive, but I've now seen it reported elsewhere. The smugglers with ties to ISIS helped migrants enter the United States from Mexico, raising alarm bells across government. I will say that this shockingly did get coverage from CNN. They say that they had the exclusive. But I cannot believe this wasn't, front page. I saw it in very rare instances. Now, again, I'm not watching the various 24/7 news outlets all day, but I didn't see it covered as much as I think it deserves. I can put that article up. The FBI is investigating more than a dozen migrants from Uzbekistan and other countries allowed in the U.S. after they saw asylum at the southern border with Mexico earlier this year. And we've talked about the open porous borders. We've talked about one of the major attack lines on President Biden that's being used a lot are these open borders. They said that, taking a step back, it set off a scramble when U.S. intelligence officials found that the migrants traveled with the help of a smuggler with ties to ISIS. While the FBI says no specific ISIS plot has been identified, officials are still working to identify and assess all of the individuals who's gained entry into the United States. My fear is that won't be possible. Long gone. Did they have the information in the first place? We've seen how that is very often a major concern of not having any type of actual information on the people who are being let in. There was no evidence at this point to justify detaining anyone. The episode, they crossed the border illegally, right? The term illegally, but we can't detain. So there's no evidence that they come. I got to take a step back on this. I don't want to go on a tangent, but maybe they didn't know, but the smugglers that help them have ties to ISIS. They crossed the border illegally, but, and I quote, there is no evidence at this point to justify detaining anyone. But I guess with a different mindset. But it was so alarming that they gave the intelligence report to the president, and it became top officials got involved. For some counterterrorism folks, it shows that the U.S. is deeply vulnerable. Think of this. For some counterterrorism officials, it shows that the U.S. is deeply vulnerable to the possibility that terrorists could sneak across the southern border by hiding amid the surge of migrants entering the country in search of asylum. We've talked about just this failed policy at the border, and this is yet another example, and it is another real concern, and in this instance, counterterrorism officials are concerned. Others should be concerned as well. That's why I'm saying it deserved more coverage than and again, anecdotally, that I observed. And of course, the incident kicked off a flurry of urgent meetings among top national security and administration officials at a time when Republicans have hammered Biden on the security of the southern border heading into the 2024 campaign. Staff on key congressional committees have been informed of the incident, according to two sources familiar with the matter. Republicans have been bringing this up. I don't know if hammered Biden on it. They've definitely seen the real problem that we have on the border and have made people aware of whose policy it is. But very, very, very troubling news. And that may tie into why some of these polls are showing that, again, President Biden not very popular. We'll talk about that. I can't run too late, so stay with us, and you can weigh in on all these topics. Please do. You see the number on the bottom of our screen. Oh, we got one virtual wave, too. Thank you. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Another quick look behind the scenes of the studio for a couple extra seconds. Kind of like that, but it's because of a necessity. It's not an accident. Don't worry. You get to watch a little bit more of what happens here, and that's me reading a piece of paper. Pretty exciting, huh? Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I'm your host, Frank Acom. I mentioned this before we went to break. So the president running for re-election, obviously we know there's a lot of talk about will he run for re-election? Will someone try to swoop in? What will the deal be? But this has got to be very troubling for his campaign staff, which I don't think is very big yet. Doesn't seem like they've really gotten their campaign off the ground. But according to the latest Siena Research survey, the survey asked, and I bring this one up because it's about New York. They asked New York Democrats, and I quote, "Do you think the Democrat Party should renominate Joe Biden as the party's candidate for president in 2024, or do you think the party should nominate a different candidate for president in 2024? A plurality, 47% of Democrats from New York said they think the party should nominate Biden, compared to 46% who believe the Democrat Party should choose another candidate. And then you had 7% that just didn't know. That's always weird to me. Aren't sure, Okay, but 47%, yeah, okay, we want him to be a nominee. 46%, no, we don't. That's, again, this is within his own party in New York. Among those who said Democrats should choose a different candidate, 10% said it should be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Interesting. Followed by 8% who said Vice President Kamala Harris. 7% who said Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. 7% who said Bernie. That's interesting. We heard Bernie Sanders was going to be in New Hampshire the other day, which has caused a lot of speculation. Could he be giving it a third go? 5% who said California Governor Gavin Newsom. Oh, we can't be happy with that. 4% who said Elizabeth Warren. Okay. And 1% who said Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And then another 15% said someone else, or 43% who said unsure, no opinion. Now, a lot of people have said it's not going to be Harris. How am I doing on time? Said it's not going to be Harris because she's not popular. Maybe. I think if Biden decides he can't run or doesn't want to run, whatever the case may be, it almost has to be Harris unless they can figure out something pretty soon. Now, I don't know who that would be. I mean, I guess maybe open a primary system. Gavin Newsom looks like he's trying for it, but according to that poll, and that's just one, of course, of New York Democrats, he's not high ranking on that list. I'm kind of fascinated to see Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That also goes to show you, and this is why they're really upset at Cornel West right now, because he's running third party, he's running green ticket. So he could really be a fly in the ointment in this scenario. If you have that many New York Democrats who don't want Biden to be the nominee, does that carry over into the general? And I don't mean they maybe actively don't vote for him and go with Cornel West or write somebody in. Maybe they just don't have the drive to get out and vote, because that's a very high number, 46% who believe the party should choose another candidate. Anyway, and that's why I bring up this story. It's from Rich Lowry, and it's at the New York Post. And it says it's not racist or sexist to worry Kamala Harris is a heartbeat away from the presidency. So we're going to talk about that when we come back from a break. So stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back. All right, I thought we'd use that extra little time where there's no audio for that road closure announcement. Steuben County Route 5 in the town of Lindley will be closed from 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. beginning September the 11th through the 14th. So keep that in mind if you're out that way. There will be no on-site detour. So I'm going to have a couple of those, and we have just a couple extra seconds before we go on live with audio. Okay, so I highlighted this right before break, but Rich Lowry says it's not racist or sexist to worry that Vice President Harris is a heartbeat away from the presidency. But that is the line of attack that they're using because Nikki Haley questioned it. Vice President Harris is one of the most prominent, people in the United States, who at any moment could inherit some of the most fearsome powers on earth. But no one is supposed to notice. No one is supposed to comment. Republicans are deemed unhealthily fixed on Harris for saying a vote for the increasingly rickety President Biden is a vote to make her president. Why? This is what the Boston Globe wrote. Why are Republicans so obsessed with Harris? Jameel Hill, the former ESPN journalist, now with The Atlantic, said Nikki Haley in lurid terms for warning of a President Harris. Used lurid terms. That's interesting. Quote, so part of the reason racism is such a terrible sickness in this country is because politicians like this, meaning Haley, know they can rally a certain base with the fear of, oh my goodness, a black woman might be president if you don't vote for me. Hill then connected Haley's sentiment with racist violence. Wow. It's simply a fact. I mean, that Harris could be president. That's one of the roles that you take on as vice president. That's always a possibility. And then you have a president, to use Lowry's term, rickety. But that has even some people in his own party saying that he's not fit enough, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be, to be president. So it is a fair question to raise, and I think Nikki Haley doing so is not wrong in any way, but that this is the line of attack that the media is going to use leading up to the election, because they know that it is a troubling attack on their president, on the President Biden, on a Democrat president, I should say, that it is. It works. It's no wonder that Harris, an off-putting, poor political performer, who is a stereotypical, identity politics obsessed California progressive, should be a political target. Of course she's going to be. It only makes sense that the Republicans would latch onto that. And again, I think people need to remember that Harris didn't even make it to the first primary vote when she ran for president. So this idea that she's always been somewhat popular or that she just lost it recently is not the case. But, quote, she had managed to be, let me try again. She has managed to be both undistinguished on the one hand and widely disliked on the other. Democrats want to build a defensive ring around the vice president based on accusations of racism and sexism. It will not work. Everyone knows President Harris is a real possibility, and the fact that she's next in line will be an inevitable part of the 2024 debate. But that's how they're trying to shut it down already with the attacks like that on Haley. And of course, there'll be more of those as other candidates go down that same road of reasoning. Okay, how we doing? Oh, we're doing good. All right, cool. A couple other quick things to go to. We're going to race through a few of them, but I like in Washington, there's the emails of, and this doesn't get a lot of coverage either, much like the Hunter laptop, but Biden's 400 emails he sent under secret names. Of course, they're demanding Freedom of Information Act, demanding those emails. But I think it was a New York Post, maybe it was another outlet, had a good point. These are the 3 or 4 names that we know of that have produced 5,400 emails. And we haven't seen those emails yet either. But what about other ones? What other kind of emails are out there? Biden declared in 2019 that there was an absolute wall between Biden family foreign schemes and his own role as vice president. Apparently that absolute wall only applied to the specific name Joe Biden. Did Biden take a class in law school on incognito influence peddling or what? And that's from James Bouvard at the New York Post. But will the National Archives go to the barricades to defend the privacy interest of Joe Biden's imaginary friends, meaning these imaginary names, these made-up names that he used? Will dogged investigators, congressional committees, and whistleblowers obliterate the tattered remnants of Team Biden's credibility? Will the liberal media cease invoking the president's good intentions to expunge his crimes? Those are all questions asked by the New York Post. But as I said, yes, so the Freedom of Information Act only covered the recently revealed fake names: Robin Ware, Robert L. Peters, and J.R.B. Ware. The records need vetting for any other secret names. News of those 3 alternative private accounts and the fact that Joe sometimes discussed official government work on them came out of Hunter's laptop. For example, the foreign deal-making first son got copies of his dad's official schedule. What else? No one knows. So that was a quick update on that, a story we've been talking about a lot. Okay, we're going to talk about Trump when we come back. A few other issues. Man, the show's going fast as always, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Thank you again for joining us here on Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. If you recall, and former President Trump may disagree with me on this, but I believe that the mugshot picture only served to divide us more as a country. Also, I thought it sent a very bad image on the international front. But I know, and we might get to that in a little bit, but the president raked in the money on that fundraising. But what I say that, and we'll talk about that in just a second, why I say that is I believe this, even the talks of this that I'm about to mention, it would divide this country so much, and it would, whether or not you agree with Trump or disagree or whatever the case, it would play right into the point that the former president has been making about the lack of election integrity, about the witch hunt, the rigged election, right? So New Hampshire Attorney General Office, and this is coming out of Boston, NBC Boston, is examining a provocative legal argument that could prevent former President Donald Trump from being on the ballot in the 2024 presidential election. And the reasoning they use is the January 6th insurrection. There's a group of attorneys who have come up with this way to deem it unconstitutional for him to be on the ballot. And they call themselves conservatives, and we see this very often. The Republicans do that a lot. If you call yourself a Republican, you're going to get a lot of coverage, and you're normally going against the party's wishes when you get this kind of attention, and that's exactly what is happening here, according to the polls. It is going against the party's wishes. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution was adopted after the Civil War, and its third section disqualifies anyone who engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the U.S. after taking the oath of office from serving in a federal office. So let's say in New Hampshire they keep him off the ballot. I don't know if they can keep him off the ballot, if they're going to try to do this in every state. What does that say about, they talk about the threat of Donald Trump on our norms, on our democracy. You would now be saying that the as of right now, the lead candidate in the Republican Party would not be on the ballot because of not going through the trial, not being found guilty, because you believe he was involved in an insurrection. So that goes back to the part where I said guilty until proven innocent. We're seeing that in the coverage over and over again with the trials coming up. But this is what the Attorney General's office, they released a statement. The Attorney General's office is now carefully reviewing the legal issues involved. I'm telling you, you couldn't try to divide a country more if you wanted to with initiatives like this. Even the conversation of this, and I'm not saying silence the conversation, I'm saying this will outrage a lot of people. It'll concern a lot of people when the lead nominee for the Republican Party, as of right now, that may change, but would not be included on the ballot because of you don't like, not the court system, not the don't like what he did. You believe he started January 6th, whatever the case may be. But how can that power be misused? Think of the precedent that sets when maybe there's the Republicans in office. Could they start going down this same road? I don't know. It just scares me. I don't like seeing the country so divided, and that kind of thing just adds fuel to the fire in my case. But I believed that the mugshot did too, but Trump, $9.4 million raised since the mugshot came out. But I've got to take another short break. Boy, this show's going fast. Just please stay with us. We'll be right back. And Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. So according to a new poll, Morning Consult, that was just published yesterday, Trump is still, even after not doing the debate, even after the mugshot, he is a first choice for 58% of potential Republican primary voters, 44 percentage points ahead of Ron DeSantis, who was right around 14. So they remain unchanged from the week before. I know if you go to Drudge Report and others, they're pushing this idea that Nikki Haley could be a real threat. We mentioned it yesterday on the program to Donald Trump. As of yet, after the mugshot, after not doing the primary debate, staying, pardon me, right at the same level as he was pre-mugshot. But as I mentioned, they may not be that upset that they had to do the mugshot. $9.4 million raised since that photo was taken. And that puts it at more than $20 million in August. In fact, this is, I believe, a tweet that was sent out, or an X, or I'm not sure, or a statement. In fact, our campaign recorded its single greatest fundraising day ever. It spiked soon after that famous, or infamous, however you want to look at it, scowling mugshot was emblazoned on campaign merchandise, stressing that he will never surrender. I was surprised. Well, I'm not surprised by the numbers. That's but it is remarkable. I have not seen, maybe it's taking a while to ship out. I've not seen anybody wearing it yet. I thought for sure that'd be relatively quick, but as of yet here on Market Street, I have not. All right, our last break. Then, and by the way, stay with us through the break because we are going to blaze through a lot of topics. So stay right there. We'll be right back. And Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Don't forget, on the program tomorrow, Joe Tobia will be our guest. He's running for Steuben County Legislature. That will be right around 7:10. Okay. Suarez has suspended his presidential campaign. Do you remember when we heard arguments, and you're probably saying who? He's the mayor of Miami. It doesn't come as a surprise he suspended his campaign, but they originally tried to sell him in the media as, boy, this guy's going to hurt DeSantis because they've always butted heads. They almost were giddy, but he never got any traction whatsoever. As far as I'm aware. I mean, he obviously didn't make the debates. Okay. Something we talk about on this program, unfortunately, way too often, and that is, why is the reputation of the U.S. military going south so so fast, excuse me. In the years and months since the U.S. withdrawals from Iraq and Afghanistan, public respect for our armed forces has been plummeting towards levels not seen since the end of the American war in Vietnam. And if you recall on this program early on, I asked the question, would you at this point encourage a loved one, a friend, to join the military? And why this is so discouraging is because it's coming from both sides. The left has always kind of historically not had confidence in the military, right? But on the right now, because of some of the woke policies we're seeing since President Biden got into office, and a little before that, that these woke policies have created, unfortunately, a vacuum where neither side has the confidence, has the faith is the word that we use often in the military, especially to the point where we heard about that great piece, I can't remember who wrote it, about the loss of recruits, that people don't want to join, that huge drop in signing up for the military. Conservatives are expressing concern about more than the collapse of U.S. nation-building efforts in the Middle East. Earlier this summer, the Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama denounced the Pentagon leaders as too woke. He is now holding up the promotion of hundreds of senior officers, which has left the Marine Corps without a commandant for the first time in 164 years. The Army without a chief, and as of this month, we're not going to go through every single person here. Okay. Ask the question, why, because we have both sides that watch this program, and I love it. We've heard from both sides on this issue. Why do you think the reputation of the U.S. military is going south so quickly? One other, I guess this is not a surprise article whatsoever. Cannabis use disorder is common in one state where marijuana is legal. So they just looked at one state. Was not New York, but something to keep in mind that it could trend this way in a state like New York where it is legal. So they looked at Washington State. And just so you're aware, cannabis use disorder, or some call it CUD, a person must have two or more of such symptoms as craving weed, becoming tolerant. I mean, I think that means of the drug, not just a life. Using more than intended, using marijuana even though it causes problem in life, using it in high-risk situations, experience withdrawal, and being unable to quit. So one state, at least, where it has been legal, that has been a problem, that it is common, cannabis use disorder. Out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you again to Bill Cottle from Youth and Government. Find out more at Steuben County's website. And don't forget, Joe Tobia, running for Steuben County Legislature, will be on tomorrow on Frankly Speaking, starting at 7 right here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. Have a great day, everyone.